And welcome to news. I'm Salmata Jalloh. Coming up in tonight's edition of news, Deputy Minister of Social Welfare launches Women Supporting Women project. Today, National Conference on Community Engagement commences on the 30th of August 2016. Deputy Minister of Information ends tour to the regions, and Salem's ambassador to China and his Chinese counterpart signs hospital project. All the stories and more coming up tonight. Welcome to news. For our first story tonight, the Deputy Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, Nana Turi, has launched the Women Supporting Women as Role Model project at the Med Hall, Waterloo. The Girls, Child, Sierra Leone and Sisters Unite organized the program. Joseph Stanley reports.
The program brought together vulnerable women with a view to engage in profitable activities to be self-reliant, as well as supporting each other. Launching the project, the Deputy Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, Nene Toure, stresses the need for women to be role models in society to ensure they contribute to national development. She recalls the launch of many women's organizations, but because of several challenges, including improper coordination, they were not sustained. The Deputy Minister says government is committed in promoting and increasing women's participation in governance.
If you jealous for your sister and you pikin, why you not protect other person pikin wey get? Why you for go behind small pikin for Giambele wey not reach the age? Why you for want for marriage small pikin wey not be for marriage? Look that pikin like the old pikin wey want better. If it better, the whole nation don't better. But you point one girl picking, now the whole country you don't point. Because when girl picking educates, now they see you don't need for money. Once is there now the area outside is there where they help with you. Now that's not don't you. Now that's not the issue like that.
Madam Toure commended Sisters Unite for engaging in agricultural activities, which is one of the main pillars for livelihood in the country. She encourages them to support girl child education as they are vulnerable in society. Given the purpose of the launch, the founder and country director for Girl Child Network, Anita Koroma, says the project is meant to bring women together, especially the vulnerable, to be productive. She expresses appreciation to Sisters Unite for the progress made, especially in contributing to national development. Chairlady for Sisters Unite, Gloria Mattia, notes the collaboration between our organization and the Girl Child Network and that the partnership has yielded positive dividend. She highlights agricultural activities, business, livestock, and producing local clothes. The Women's Leadership and Advocacy Advisor for Trocare, Mary Fode, describes Sisters Unite as a formidable women's group that has produced many role models in the country. In her contribution, the president of the Women's Forum Network, Maud Peacock, pledges our organization's continued support to promote women and encourages our colleagues to discourage early marriage and teenage pregnancy.
A two-day national conference on community engagement will commence tomorrow at the Bintumani Hotel at Aberdeen. The conference aims at strengthening community ownership through sustained engagement of the government's recovery priorities in the country. Abdul Samsi reports.
The national conference aims at outlining UNICEF Sierra Leone's proposal on the theme Community Engagement Beyond Social Mobilization, the Ebola Viral Disease Legacies and the Way Forward. Speaking at a news conference on the President's recovery priorities held at the conference room of the Ministry of Information and Communications at UU Building, the Chief of Staff, Saidu Konton Sise, said that the national conference will provide a framework that will ensure the legitimacy of President Nkrumah's government with a view of strengthening relationship with the community.
We want to be sure that we strengthen government relationship with the communities. We strengthen the involvement of communities into the delivery of services, their sustainability, their utilization, in their various communities, and we want to continue to build trust between the state and the people that we serve.
It will bring together key stakeholders in local communities, including paramount chiefs, civil society groups, and other traditional rulers. The President's recovery priorities represent a multi-stakeholder investment program that focused on education, energy, governance, health, private sector development, social protection, and water. The Deputy Minister of Information and Communications, Cornelius DeVoe, said that the National Conference will promote a system of effective planning and participation by key stakeholders at the community and regional levels. For SLBC News Freetown, Abdul Samsise reporting.
The Financial Intelligence Unit has ended the sensitization program on money laundering, terrorism financing, and investigation for officers of the Criminal Investigations Department and 8 local unit commanders. Francis Alima reports.
Counter-Financing of Terrorism Act was passed into law in 2012, the government has been making frantic moves to ensure money laundering and terrorist financing is prevented. Anybody caught in the act is brought to book. The move of the Finance Intelligence Unit is to engage law enforcement body like the police to identify any act of money laundering and terrorist financing and bring perpetrators to justice. The intelligence officer, Financial Intelligence Unit, Augustine Gebreputan, advised beneficiaries to use the knowledge gained to prevent, detect, and investigate any act of money laundering and terrorism financing. Deputy Head of Operations, Financial Intelligence Unit, David Bobo, said the aim of the campaign is to educate beneficiaries on their roles, including the conduct of investigations and prosecution of cases of money laundering and terrorist financing.
Deputy Minister of Information and Communications, Cornelius DeVoe, has concluded visits to the University of Makeni, the SLBC regional stations in Bokenem and Makeni, to explain government development priorities as well as to assess facilities of the public service broadcaster. Hannah Tukonti read this story sent in by Claudius Beckley.
Deputy Minister of Information, Cornelius DeVoe, said that the Eastern Polytechnic and 2 secondary schools will in the next few months benefit from a World Bank-funded broadband internet. He added that the rehabilitation of the Kenema roads will start as soon as the rains subside. In a conducted tour at the SLBC Kenema facilities, Mr. DeVoe commended staff of the SLBC for holding the fort and managing the institution. He assured them that government will continue to support the SLBC. In Bo, the Deputy Minister was taken on a conducted tour to the facilities of SLBC, where the Regional Manager SLBC Bo, Batilo Matia, briefed him about the activities of SLBC in Bo. In Makeni, the Deputy Minister expressed dissatisfaction and disappointment over the non-availability of the Ministry of Information and GIS offices. The Deputy Minister also used the opportunity to inform journalists that government frowns at the recent press release from the Human Rights Commission in which the Commission called for a temporary ban of the police on peacekeeping. He described the release as unpatriotic. A visit to the University of Makeni formed part of the tour.
Sierra Leone Research Education Network. But with all these facilities, once you
Sierra Leone's ambassador to China has said that Sierra Leone's quest for socio-economic development is not limited to interventions at the level of government, but that of the private sector as well. Ambassador Almami Pikroma said the government of Sierra Leone values the private sector as a strategic important sector for growth. The ambassador called on the Chinese investors to continue their investment in Sierra Leone so as to foster the ties of friendship between the two countries. He was speaking at the signing ceremony of the China-Sierra Leone African Brightness for Free project with ADI Hospital. The Chinese ambassador to Sierra Leone and the Sierra Leone government signed an agreement on behalf of their 2 weeks ago for Chinese medical team to carry out cataract surgery in Sierra Leone. The China-Sierra Leone Africa Brightness of Free agreement with ADI Eye Hospital is spearheaded by the embassy in China. Ambassador Kroma said he was happy that the program was revived by Dr. Yao Xiaoming at Marietta Cargo Sierra Leone based in China. The embassy assured work closely with the hospital for the arrival of the team of doctors to Sierra Leone to perform the free cataract surgery. Chief Executive Officer of Haida Eye Hospital, Jean Juan, said she was happy that they have been invited by the embassy to conduct the free surgery in the country. A driver identified as Ishmael Suma has lost his life in the hands of a clique group around Central of Freetown on Sunday evening. Reported the man met his death while he was attacked by the clique guys because he had clad in a red t-shirt whilst coming from a football match. The clique guys were in possession of knives, stones, and machetes. The Multimagais College of Science and Technology has concluded its week-long curriculum review exercise to look into courses offered by the college. According to the principal, Dr. Sheku Kanu, it is 15 years since the curriculum was reviewed. Dr. Kanu says before the review process, his administration had already engaged all stakeholders in the education sector. The Multimagai assured the public that they have the tools and facilities to carry out with new programs. So now being the highlight of the curriculum review program.
We have been reviewing our academic programs at Multimagai College of Education and Technology. The essence of this review, first and foremost, is to enable us to meet international standards so that our graduates, wherever they find themselves, will be accepted. Secondly, the review also gears towards responding to the labor market. We don't only train our students for training purposes, but to ensure that when they graduate, they have jobs, they fit into the job market. Another key element in our review that was considered is that we are also responding to the President's agenda for prosperity. I just came back from Mombasa, Kenya, where I attended the Commonwealth Association of Polytechnic Institutions in Africa, and it was clearly observed that the middleman power technology is very much inadequate in Africa. Sierra Leone is not an exception. So what we are doing in essence is to develop the middleman power so that they can participate fully and we can realize the agenda for prosperity. So these are some of the issues we are addressing through the curriculum review. And over and above that also, we ensure that we brought in stakeholders in this review. We invited staff of Jalloh University, staff from the University of Sierra Leone. The NCTV also took part and also invited the Ministry of Tourism. These are all key stakeholders to our review. We are looking at them as a preliminary, then definitely we have to also to do some validation, especially for the new courses that we have introduced, or called the private sector to also come and participate in the validation process before we implement them. I want the public to know that Multimagai is here to train middle manpower, and we have reviewed our courses to ensure that they respond to the market needs and they meet international standards. We have also introduced new courses. For instance, we have introduced a veterinary technician course. We have also introduced courses in electronics. We have introduced courses also in applied statistics. We have introduced the Bachelor of Education in Agriculture. We have introduced also new courses in renewable energy, the solar engineering. We have also introduced courses in public health at certificate, diploma, and higher diploma levels. We have also introduced courses in food processing technology, and several more are coming. So my advice, especially to the younger folks, is that come to Multimagai and earn yourself a decent career that can sustain you and help you to develop within the educational ranks of this country. But definitely when you talk about review, you don't only talk about the courses. You also look at the facilities that you have. You also look at your manpower. And I want to assure the public that we have the manpower, trained and qualified manpower here. In some of the courses we intend to introduce also, like the medical laboratory technician course, I have contacted the International Atomic Energy Agency, and they have approved a project for us where we'll be establishing 3 medical laboratories: serology, molecular biology, and microbiology laboratories that will enable us to.
That was the principal of the Milton Magai College of Science and Technology, Dr. Saidu Kano, explaining to SLPC about the reviewing of its curriculum to look at courses offered by the college. Today, getting on the role of the security sector in the prevention and management of global health crisis has ended at the Bintu Mani Hotel, organized by the Center for Governance and Security Policy Initiative. The discussion centered on lessons learned from the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. Participants were drawn from health and security sectors of Sierra Leone, Guinea, Liberia, Nigeria, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. Nasruddin Kuruma reports.
The security sector is said to have played a pivotal role in the response to Ebola in West Africa sub-region. What are the lessons learned, and what should be done to enhance better preparedness for future health crises is the main thrust of the regional workshop organized by the Justice Sector and Associate Center for Governance and Security Policy Initiatives, together with the Geneva Center for the Democratic Control of Armed Forces. The outbreak of the Ebola in 2014 in West Africa, particularly in Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, resulted in more than 28,000 cases and over 11,000 deaths. The workshop, according to organizers, is necessitated by the initiative to facilitate studies to probe into what occurred, weaknesses uncovered in the national, regional, and global response processes to the Ebola. It also explores what should be done to strengthen responses and enhance resilience to such health crises in future. The Minister of Health and Sanitation, Dr. Abubakar Fofana, informs that researches in the area of health crises are very important. The health minister says that Sierra Leone government is appreciative of the initiative, which is to facilitate better preparedness to mitigate future epidemics through collaborative and coordinated efforts between the health and security sectors. One of the Mano River Union deputies to the Secretary General in Sierra Leone, Linda Kuruma, explains that in line with the 15 Protocol on Peace, Security and Defense, they have established 22 joint border security and confidence building units across the sub-region monitoring cross-border movements. She adds that it will also take into account prevention and control of communicable diseases like Ebola. In addition, Linda Kuruma has this to say on their post-Ebola recovery programs.
And we are far advanced, and very soon it will be implemented. This is a program that will be implemented by the ministries of gender in the 3 affected countries. It's a social fund. I have no doubt in the governments of the 3 affected countries, and I want to believe when we get to that bridge we will cross it. But for now, I think everything is going on as planned, and very soon it will be implemented.
Executive Director J&S Associate Center for Governance and Security Policy Initiative Jonathan Sandin says the role of security services has not been systematically addressed. The involvement of the security sector in the health crisis and emergency responses, he says, is becoming more frequent and seen as necessity. The 2-day regional workshop is therefore mainly centered on the role of security services in the 2014 Ebola response in West Africa and build core competencies to prepare for and respond to future health crises.
Our immediate thing is to wrap up the recommendations that emerge from here and then see how we can translate those recommendations into policy briefs, into standard operational procedures, and as well as training and capacity model. What we will call, let's put it, we now need to look at the donors and potential donors to see how we can design a sub-regional project. And I think if we, global health security at this stage, is how do we bring the whole of government approach between the security forces and the public health institution.
The Ebola crisis has been a wake-up call to the health crisis more seriously, demanding investment effort to prepare and collaborate to enhance and guarantee better preparedness against future Ebola crisis.
A Sierra Leonean living in the United States, Harun Rashidin, and the class of 2008 Mass Communications Department have donated a huge consignment of assorted textbooks to the Department of Mass Communication, Frabi College. Textbooks cater for both undergraduate and postgraduate courses. We'll now bring you highlights of the presentation.
Our reading culture, because students are required to read materials, reference materials in short, but the difficulty had been how to access them, especially when we talk about relevant and contemporary ones. So I think this is going to enhance that need, and in that direction we'll be giving them reference work, assignment, essays, research and so forth, project writing, and then they will utilize these books as what they could use as reference points.
Are we going to see this kind of gesture being directed to the Mass Communications Department in future, or this is just a one good thing?
Well, I mean, you can witness and realize that this is motivational, and we are expecting more motivation to go ahead. In fact, in addition to this, the class of 2008 also donated 5 boxes of books to the department after this program, as part of their own commitment to what they have gained from the department. So I think all students and then well-wishers who have witnessed this might think about doing the same for the department. We have to make sure that there is reading culture in the university, and the way to enhance literacy, this is one of the steps. So I believe we can sustain this, and then we are also expecting the students to make good use of it, and then ensure that it becomes sustainable.
Your viewers have seen the pile of books in cartoons. Can you tell us what are some of the important learning materials you have in the consignment?
The books here go beyond the need of mass communication. They are also going to serve other departments like law, economics, accounting, philosophy, theology, as well as some books meant for kids or children. So, but then we still have some there for journalism, media and communication studies.
We have 2 sets of donations. We have one from Mr. Rashidin, who lives in the United States, and we have one from class of 28. These donations are very important, especially it entails books. To me, after God is book. Anyone who gives out books gives out the future of this donation. The donation came at a time we needed it most, and we have it and we appreciate it well as a student.
That was the president of Makosa Frabi College, Umaru Samai Ale. You saw the head of Department Mass Communications Department, Tony Amosa, reacting to the donation done by former students of the Mass Communication Department, Harun Rashidin. Houses have been constructed on drainages facilities within the 11-man Portuguese communities in the west end of Freetown, which has affected the free passage of water, thus causing flooding when it rains. However, Deputy Minister of Works, Housing and Infrastructure, Khadija Sise, has condemned the act during a cleaning exercise undertaken by the Levoma Network for Peace and Development in collaboration with the Environment Protection Agency. Daphne Kema Macaulay reports.
According to the Deputy Minister of Works, Housing and Infrastructure, Madam Khadija Sise, most of the people who construct houses along the beaches do not have building permits from the Ministry of Works, Housing and Infrastructure.
We are very, very much disappointed in the way and manner in which people are doing things in this country.
We apologize for we cannot continue the rest of that story. And now turning to the main points again. The Deputy Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs has launched Women Supporting Women Project, a 2-day national conference on community engagement on the implementation of the Presidential Recovery Priority is to commence tomorrow. Deputy Minister of Information conclude visits to the regions, and Thailand's ambassadors to China and his Chinese counterpart have signed hospital projects for the provision of free cataracts to patients in Sierra Leone. That's all the news tonight. Many thanks to the news editor, Ibrahim Mansur, and the rest of the production team. Thanks for watching. In the absence of business and sports, we'll now bring a repeat broadcast of issues in the news. Stay with us.
from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. Coming up, Financial Intelligence Unit FIU has ended a sensitization session for the various police divisions in the Western area on money laundering and terrorism financing and investigation. The move of the Finance Intelligence Unit is to engage law enforcement bodies to help police identify any act of money laundering and terrorism financing, which is a new concept in the criminal justice system. Since the AML-CFT Act was passed in 2012, the government has been making moves to ensure money laundering and terrorism financing is prevented in the country, or anybody caught in the act is brought to book. Well, to tell us more about it, we have in the studio David Bobo, who is the Deputy Head of Operations, Compliance and Prevention, Financial Intelligence Unit. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Well, many times when we hear this word financial intelligence and also money laundering, and what comes to one's mind is this issue of terrorism. What's the linkage between these two?
The FIU, for short, which is the Financial Intelligence Unit, is the agency established by the government of Sierra Leone to coordinate the national efforts in the fight against both money laundering and that of terrorism financing. So when we talk about money laundering, of course, we talk about people who engage in illegal activities, then try to hide the proceeds of that illegal activities. And when we talk about terrorism financing, it's basically any form of support that you provide for people who engage in terrorist activities. So basically that. I mean, our role as a unit is also in tune with the activities of similar agencies on that part of the world, because now this is a global phenomenon. Money laundering and terrorism are global phenomenon, and we need a concerted effort by all nations to be able to fight that menace. So the FIU as a unit is just working with other stakeholders within Sierra Leone to try to fight money laundering.
So how effective or how strong is this unit in Sierra Leone? Mind you, we are talking about a very powerful network. Sometimes who they come to a particular country, they either use the banks to launder their money, or they use charitable organizations to sponsor people. They use various means.
Well, I will tell you that the FIU, the FIU have been in existence for a while, but I tell you for now, the unit is very strong and very focused in trying to play a coordinating role in the fight against these two menaces. And there are three pillars in the fight against money laundering and terrorism financing. You talked about the banks being used for the purpose of money laundering. We are aware of that. That's why we have, among these three pillars, we have what we call the preventive pillar, we have the detection pillar, and we have the deterrent pillar. I will briefly explain that. On the preventive pillar, we expect people who conduct financial businesses to undertake certain measures so that they can prevent themselves being used by people who engage in money laundering or people who want to finance terrorist activities. And of course, for the detection pillar, we have certain what we call red flags. There are certain indicators that will tell you that in fact this person may be up to something that is illegal or engaging in money laundering. And based on those red flags, you can actually do a report to the unit, the FIU, which we call a suspicious transaction, for example, from a bank. And then we will now analyze those transactions and develop it into an intelligence that will share with law enforcement agencies for investigation and possible prosecution.
Do you have guys whom you've placed in the banks?
Well,
to serve as watchdogs for the FIU?
Well, we have the banks being the watchdogs for themselves.
Is that, so if the banks are watchdogs for themselves, then one would wonder how effective, because you cannot ask me to police myself, can you?
Yeah, well, basically their role is well defined. We have what we call compliance officers. People are designated as compliance officers, and normally they must be a certain level within the management structure. They must have the power of the ability to independently adjudge that a particular transaction, a particular activity is worth reporting to the unit. But over and above that, we also make periodic review of their activities through on-site examination, and we also do off-site review of certain reports that they send to us. So it's not only limited to them policing themselves, but on a periodic basis we go in to see whether they are doing the right thing.
But if I asked that question, remember I think a few months ago, was it the American government also issued some names of some Sierra Leonean, some Lebanese of Sierra Leonean descent, who they say we are sponsoring some. I mean, they have some nefarious activities, and they say they have businesses in Sierra Leone. And the government of Sierra Leone, I wonder whether the government knew about that. Not until the American government broke the news.
Well, I do not want to dwell into the merit of the listing of those people who are operating in Sierra Leone or who are Sierra Leoneans. But what I will say is that as a country, we have a listing that is done by the United Nations. That listing is done under what we call Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. Every member state of the United Nations is obligated to take action on the basis of designation done by the UN. Every nation, or every country can also designate. In fact, Sierra Leone, we also can designate if we know that your activity meets the requirement, to be designated as somebody who is providing support to terrorists or engaged in terrorist activities. But what the law does not require us to do is that we are not obligated to honor the list by other countries. For example, like the United States. The United States come up with their own listing on the OFAC, and they have their own criteria they set for listing. Except where the United States government has to make the request to the country to take specific actions. And we can normally do that looking at what our legal framework require of us. But I mean, for the UN list, that is a list for Al-Qaeda, the ISIS, Daesh, and these other non-terrorist groups that are designated under clear rules of the United Nations. We are obligated to instantaneously carry out the freezing orders, arms embargo, and traveling ban placed on those people. But for the OFAC list, I mean, what much we can do because of the unique place that America occupies in the global financial system is to perhaps advise our reporting or our financial institutions to treat the activities of such people with extreme caution. But we are not obligated by law to implement the requirements of those.
Now let's look at the sensitization you had with various police divisions in the Western. What are some of the issues that we have discussed?
The concept of money laundering and terrorism financing is a fairly new one within the criminal justice system. So our intent is actually to bring all of us on the same level playing field, on the same wavelength when it comes to looking at the issues of money laundering and terrorism financing. So when we go out, we talk to the police about their responsibility as prescribed within the Anti-Money Laundering and Combating of Financing of Terrorism Act of 2012. That is the act that created the unit and gave us the authority to coordinate the anti-money laundering effort of the country. We also try to demystify some of the complexity around what it takes to investigate money laundering. The intent is that since we passed the act in 2012, we have not been able to come up with any conviction for the act of money laundering. And our international partners are not happy about that kind of development. So we are doing it as partners so that we share experience, how we can be able to focus.
So what is the point? Is it that the legal framework is not too strong? That's why we are asked, since it was established, to now we are to make any prosecution on that?
No, that may not be the reason. I think the legal framework is quite clear that money laundering itself is a separate offense from the predicate offense. Remember, money laundering is a derivative offense in the sense that you have to commit a crime, and when you attempt to hide the proceeds, then you are guilty of money. You may have committed the offense of money laundering. So what basically the anti-money laundering regime is saying that you can be charged separately for example, tax evasion, and if you attempt to disguise the proceeds of those tax evasion, you can be also charged for money laundering. And I think we need to have it very clear in our minds. But most often, people may think that, you can't charge somebody for the same offense, but that is the requirement of the regime, that you can charge somebody separately for the substantive offense, that is the offense from which proceeds was derived, and if the person attempts to transfer, convert, or disguise those proceeds, that person can also be charged separately for the offense of money laundering.
Let's also look at the systems that we have in our institutions. How strong are they to withstand some of those activities by those who may want to perpetrate them?
That's why when I talked about the 3 pillars, we have both the preventive, detection, and deterrent pillars. As a coordinating agency, I think we are trying to identify where the gaps are so that we can be able to plug in those gaps where we need to enhance the capacity of certain institutions. We do that. So this engagement is one of such efforts. So where we see that the capacity is lacking for certain institutions to do as is required, then we can come in and assist them so that they do the right thing.
What about those who may come in the guise of doing business? Because they say, normally they say, well, Sierra Leone is a country that is open up to business. Sierra Leone wants investment, so they come as investors.
Yes, let me make it very clear. The is not to deter or to deter any investment coming into the country. We like investment because without investment there will not be growth, there will not be employment. But again, as a country, we want an investment that will boost sustained growth in the country. So we want to have people who bring in money that is coming from legitimate sources. So we are very concerned, even though as a country that is there need of investment capital, but we want to see people coming in clean money. Because the risk is, if you allow people to come in with money from shady sources, their intention may not be to stay in business for a long while. They will just clean up their funds and then they pack and go. And it will have some ripple effect on the economy later on.
Okay.
So we want an investment that can actually lead to sustained growth in the economy.
Okay, well, thank you very much. This is David Bobo, the Deputy Head of Operations, Compliance and Prevention, Financial Intelligence Unit. Well, that's it. Issues and News is done for today. Till we join you again sometime. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much.
Memorize this. I wish you exalt thee. There must be free. Great is the love we should have for thee. Family we should be united whenever we
Life is all about choices, some more important than others, like choosing the best way to protect your possessions and the people you love most, which is why more and more people choose Stacco Insurance. Because whatever you choose to safeguard, with Stacco Insurance you're choosing total peace of mind. Stacco Insurance, the right choice for you.